Knock on the Saints door. Quarterback sneak by Tom Brady to the 43-year-old score. He did. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Now spike that ball, Tom Brady. Who says I'm 43? He runs right up the gut and scores 6. 7. Handoff, run the ball. Fournette slashes away to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 30, 25, to the 20. Fournette to the 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Run the ball, Leonard Fournette. Wow, what a blast up the gut, found daylight, and outran everybody. Fire the cannons, get them going. Bucs win. Bucs win, Bucs win. Fire them cannons.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Swords Up Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about our Week 10 matchup away against the Carolina Panthers. And obviously this is a rematch from Week 2's game in which we won 31-17. But today I'm going to be highlighting the key stats and players for this game in the second matchup of the season. So starting out as always with the injury report, and all week long I was keeping a close eye on the situation with Ali Marpet, who was in the concussion protocol after suffering a concussion about a couple of weeks ago that caused him to miss last week's game against the Saints. He was listed as questionable on Friday, but then just a day later on Saturday, he was announced out, as well as Jadon Mickens, who was also listed questionable. He's been placed on the COVID-19 reserve list, along with Cyril Grayson, who's also on the practice squad. So Jadon Mickens and Ali Marpet will both be out this week. And with Marpet being out, Joe Hague started at left guard last week against the Saints, and obviously that did not go very well. But it looks like this week we're going to have A.Q. Shipley starting at center, and then Ryan Jensen moving over to left guard, which in my opinion I think will work out much better for us this week. And then with Mickens being out, obviously he's our kick and punt returner, so we're going to have somebody different there in this week's game. I'm thinking it's going to be Justin Watson, since he did return punts at the end of last year. As far as our kick returner, I'm not too sure, but we will have to see, as I don't think it's really clear right now is who's going to be lined up for those jobs this week. Elsewhere on the injury report, Carlton Davis is going to be questionable coming into this game with a knee injury. And on the Panthers side of things, Reggie Bonifon will be out with an ankle injury. And Christian McCaffrey, who made his return last week against the Chiefs, suffered a shoulder injury and is going to be out for this week, but it's hopeful that he will be back next week. So obviously that's a huge loss for them. And of course, McCaffrey, last time we played the Panthers, suffered a high ankle sprain in the fourth quarter. And from then on, Mike Davis has taken over that number one running back spot. Also going to be out this week is left tackle Russell Okung with a calf injury, and then defensive end Stephen Weatherly, who has a broken finger. Jeremy Chin, their linebacker slash safety, their rookie who can pretty much play anywhere on the defense. He's going to be questionable with a knee injury, as well as Yetur Gross-Matos with an ankle injury, their defensive end. Also rookie Marquise Haynes is going to be questionable with a shoulder injury. He's also defensive end, as well as another defensive end, and Justin Larkin, questionable with a groin injury. And then their number one corner, Dante Jackson, is going to be questionable with the toe injury. All right, so now let's take a look at the key players for this game. And I'm going to be highlighting on the Panthers side of things Mike Davis, with obviously Christian McCaffrey being out. Mike Davis has filled in really nicely this season, actually, and look for him to possibly have a really productive day in this game. So far this season, rushing, he's had 85 carries for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then receiving, he's had 43 catches for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns. This has probably been his most successful stretch in the NFL. He's really bounced around with a few teams. I think last year he bounced around from the Bears to the Panthers, and then before that he was on the Seahawks, and then he started his career, I think, on the 49ers. So he's really been looking to make his mark in the league with a consistent starting opportunity, and with McCaffrey being out, he's really done a nice job at filling in for them. Meanwhile, on the Buccaneers side of things, after the really rough performance last week, obviously I talked enough about that. I'm going to look for our defense to make a really big rebound this week, and I think someone to keep a big eye on is Devin White. He's been having, obviously, an outstanding season, been really playing at a Pro Bowl level, and look for him and also Levante David, those short plays in the passing game and also plays in the run game, to hopefully limit this Panthers offense and force them into beating us over the top, which honestly I thought was going to be the game plan against the Saints. And the Panthers offense kind of functions very similarly, so we'll see if we change up the game plan coming into this week in that sense. So just looking at what Devin White's done so far this season, he has 82 total tackles, which I think is fourth in the league, and he had 14 total tackles last week as part of that total, as well as 7 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 passes defended. Obviously, he's been all over the field this year, and he's been making really big plays for our defense. So I'm going to be looking out for him to really being the leader this week. But I also did want to highlight another player who I think is also playing at a Pro Bowl level, and that's Carlton Davis. He's really stepped up his game this year as our number 1 corner. He's emerging into a lockdown corner this year. He's an excellent man-to-man cover corner. Pretty much all of our top 3 corners are really great in that sense. But with Carlton Davis coming into this game questionable, it looks like he is going to play, but it will be a big loss if we miss him this week. But just looking at what he's done so far this year, he's had 40 total tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 13 passes defended, which leads the league, and then also 4 interceptions. As I talked about last week, in week 1, he shut down Michael Thomas and limited him to only 3 catches for 17 yards. And then he also did a fairly good job on him last week, but obviously it didn't really show in that way on the stat sheet. But look for Carlton Davis to make an impact this week. If he does play, he'll most likely be matched up with Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore. All right, so looking at that, and now if I'm going to give a prediction for this one, the Panthers really have been playing well. And although they're 3-6, they are definitely better than their record shows. I know that's a cliche, and we say that a lot of times with teams, but this is really the case for the Panthers. They played the Chiefs really close last week, and I watched that game, and I really liked what I saw out of them. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I just don't see the Buccaneers losing this kind of game, in which they get completely embarrassed last week on Sunday night against the Saints. I think we're going to have a big bounce back this week, and it's going to be led by our defense, and obviously I think the offense will also have a rebound. It's going to be down to that offensive line and how they hold up with Marpet being out again this week, but I think the change being made with Ryan Jensen moving over to left guard and A.Q. Shipley starting at center is really going to be a better change than having Joe Haig start at left guard. But ultimately, if the offensive line holds up really well, and the defense has a great rebound, I think we're going to be able to take this one pretty comfortably. Although I think it'll be a fairly close game, given how tough the Panthers play and how well coached they are. So I'm going to say the final score in this one will be 27-20, Buccaneers win. Alright, so that's going to be it for this week's game preview. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed the games from Week 10 in the NFL season. The season is really going by really quickly. We're already more than halfway through the season, and so now it's time to look at the playoff push for this year. And obviously this will be a big step towards that playoff push with this being a divisional matchup. But again, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys for watching, and go Bucs.